Let's talk Tanya for the 27th day of the first Adar. So in yesterday's Tanya, we started talking about that the Gemara says that someone sees that their colleague has sinned, it is a mitzvah to hate that person. So Alter Rebbe said yesterday there are two requirements in order to be able to hate another Jewish person, in order to be allowed to or even to be obligated to hate another Jewish person. Yesterday we gave over the first requirement. The first requirement is that this person is truly your colleague on your spiritual level or higher than that. But someone who is less learned than you, less religious than you, less spiritually sensitive than you, that's a person that this does not apply to. That's the first requirement. In today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe gives us the second requirement. The second requirement is that this person who has sinned, it's not just you saw the person sinning and, okay, now I have a license to hate that person. The first thing you have to do is you have to try to exert your influence and do whatever you can to get that person to change their ways. Only if and when you've exhausted that avenue, you've tried repeated times, you've done what you can to influence that person to change their ways, and that has not been effective, so then the mitzvah kicks in to hate, the obligation kicks in to hate that other person. So again, it has to be your colleague, and you have to have done your best to get that person to change his or her ways. What is the rationale? Why are we hating another person over here? Especially, we're talking here about a person who's living a soulful existence, identifying with the godly soul. And this, in a way, gives us a deeper look at what love is according to Chassidus and according to Torah. To say that to love every Jewish person because I putting on blinders and I don't see anything and everyone's good and everyone's amazing and everything's fine, no, that's a foolish love and that's a naive love. That's not what we're talking about over here. The love that we're talking about over here in chapter 32 of Tanya is a love that's because I'm identifying with my soul. And when I identify with my soul, 99% of the things that will bother me about you are not going to bother me anymore. Because almost always, when I don't like someone, when I can't stand someone, it's because somehow or other, they are infringing upon my ego. They're bothering me. They're hurting my self-interest. I can't enjoy myself in their presence, or whatever it may be. And all of these things are utterly inconsequential, not important on a soul level. So if I'm identifying with my soul, all these things don't matter to me. But does that mean that nothing matters to the soul? No. The soul cares very deeply, but it cares deeply not about itself. It's not self-centered. It cares about God's agenda. And when it sees someone else torpedoing that agenda, when it sees someone else sabotaging that agenda, it is very, very bothered. It is a holy bother. You can make the argument that if you don't hate, you don't love. If someone sees someone hurting their child and doesn't hate the person who's hurting their child, do they really love their child? If I love God with all my heart and all my soul, if I am identifying with my soul and with the godly agenda, and I see someone actively torpedoing it, and the person has the knowledge and has the information, the person's my colleague, and the person also, I've tried to do what I can to get them to stop, and they're not doing it, yes, I will hate that person. And that's actually a hate which is coming from the soul. At the same time, we realize that the amount of people this can apply to is minuscule. How many people are there who are on my level, higher than me, who have actually done whatever I can to help them to change their ways, and it's not worked? So obviously, although in concept this exists, this idea of hating another Jew, if we think about it practically, it's not very practical. You'd be challenged to be able to count on with the fingers on one hand the amount of people who this apply to, if at all. But still, is there the 1, 2, 3, or 4 individuals, Jewish people who actually we should be hating? Is that actually the implication? The answer to that we'll find out in tomorrow's Tanya.